Tot 5 uur, kunst en cultuur.
Amsterdam FM.
Ja, dames en heren, daar zijn we weer live vanuit de Openbare Bibliotheek. Is dit de Songwriters Guild op Amsterdam FM met jullie host Rufus Kain. Vandaag hebben we een bijzondere uitzending hier, want we gaan eigenlijk de première, het begin van de Fringe Festival 2013 lanceren hier in de uitzending tussen 4 en 5. Want vandaag gaat het van start. Het is van 5 september tot en met 15 september. We gaan spreken met makers van verschillende programma's die gaan plaatsvinden bij de Vondelbunker en allerlei andere locaties door Amsterdam. Wat de Fringe Festival is, dat laat ik ze zo meteen zelf vertellen. We gaan eerst luisteren naar een nummer van onze gast van vorige week. Dat was de Duitse singer-songwriter en multi-instrumentalist Peter Piek. Hier met een nummer van zijn aankomende CD. Dames en heren, dat was Peter Piek. Hij was vorige week hier te gast bij Songwriters Guild Live en had ook een aantal optredens in Amsterdam. Nu is hij volgens mij weer in het buitenland. Je luistert naar Songwriters Guild Live vanaf de 4e verdieping van de Openbare Bibliotheek. En zoals ik zei, het Fringe Festival. We hebben eigenlijk de eer dat het als het ware gelanceerd wordt vanaf Amsterdam FM hier vandaag in de studio. Yay. En ja, daar ben ik nogal blij mee. Je hoort al een aantal van de mensen die ik aan tafel heb zitten. Een daarvan is Sam Heddy en we hebben haar een paar keer eerder in de uitzending gehad, zowel met Sin Collective. We're going to switch over to English now.
Okay.
Yes. We've had you here with Sin Collective a few times, and we're going to briefly touch upon that as well. But last year you were here to talk about the first Free Fringe Festival in Amsterdam.
Right. A whole year ago, and here we are again a year later, and it's back. And it's bigger. Not that that's necessarily better, but it's bigger. It's still a small festival, but it's wonderful how many people have joined us in the Free Fringe Festival in Amsterdam.
Well, first of all, if we were on TV right now, I'd show people the beautiful poster that's for the festival this year, but they may have seen it around the city because walking through the city, I see it in a lot of places. Yeah.
Yes, it's a tree with lots of branches, with all the different disciplines and type of events that are taking place, and it's
and just
sprouting.
So people know, because later in the show I'm gonna announce a few shows that are happening at the Fringe Festival, and a lot of people know what the Fringe Festival is. But what is the Free Fringe Festival? Because it's a separate event.
It is. It's on at the same time as the Fringe Festival. But we like to think of it as being the real Fringe Festival because it's showcasing events that are taking place in Amsterdam, some of them all year round, people who are working all year round doing things for free. Not all of them, some of them are also working professionally. And
so real because it's on the Fringe.
Yes, it's there is a very vibrant fringe scene in Amsterdam. A truly fringy scene, I would say. And we're very lucky in that. And so this festival is designed to celebrate that.
And it's because the Fringe Festival also is an international thing. It happens in Edinburgh as well. But there's also in the UK also a Free Fringe Festival.
The Free Fringe is growing, and in Edinburgh this year there were over 700, I think 730 something shows in the Free Fringe. It's growing, and people are taking notice of it, and they're noticing the fact that just because it's for free doesn't mean that it's not any good. The thing is that a lot of artists can't afford to pay the venues, so it's quite a handy way of doing it is to arrange with a venue that the venue will sell drinks and so on, and therefore they can afford to give the space for free, and then the performers give their time for free, and they get to showcase their work, they get to reach an audience, and that's what it's all about. And if we're not working, then the work doesn't develop, it doesn't get better. So that's what we need.
And it sounds like the Free Fringe Festival is quickly growing, and before you know it, there will be a need for a real Free Fringe Festival.
Yes, a Fringe of the Fringe Festival,
But before we get to that, you've brought some people with you today.
Yes.
And maybe we could do a little introduction of the table.
Sure. Well, on my right here is Faye.
Hello.
Faye's doing a film festival, which is mainly animation, but not completely animation. Some exciting movies coming from Japan and other places. And next to her is Molly.
Hello.
And Molly's having an exhibition of art that was inspired by computer games. And also they're going to be showing some unusual computer games. She can tell you about that more herself.
Yeah.
And then we have Roberto Bacilega, whose function in the festival is as a venue, and he has a venue called the Astro Teatro.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
In the Vollen. And would you describe it as being in the Vollen?
Well, at the edge.
It's just off the Warmoestraat.
Yes, off the Warmoestraat. So it's
Right.
if you come from the Dam, it's 1 minute. If you come from the Wallen, it's also 1 minute.
Yeah.
It's a very small, but very central location and very intimate in a way. Yes.
So Roberto runs events there all year round, and he's also an actor in one of the stars of the festival this year, which is a production of Samuel Beckett's Endgame, which is going on in the Vondelbunker, which, if any of you know the play, it's a perfect venue for the play because it's set in some kind of post-apocalyptic shelter where the survivors are. And so the Vondelbunker, we thought of doing it there last year when we did the festival, actually, that it would be a wonderful place to do it. And now we've done it. And you have to come and see it. It's going to be very good.
We're going to talk about that as well. And finally, Ryan Miller, whose show is on tonight. It's improv, and it's at the Mesrab. And it's very exciting. And it's the kick-off show for the festival, actually, apart from this one. And here he is.
Yes, it's all true.
It's all true. And Ryan is an accomplished performer. And
still all true.
Aren't you?
So for a minute, let's talk about that show for tonight, because that seems like a good point to start about the Free Fringe shows at the Mesrab tonight. And the Mesrab, I've known it since it was a very small tea house in West, but it's moved a few times. So where is Mesrab now?
Mesrab is now located right next to the Packhouse Wilhelmina, and it's a downstairs space retaining its intense gezelligheid and storytelling vibe. But yeah, it's moved a few times.
Yeah, so next to Packhouse Wilhelmina on the Piet Heinkade.
Yes.
And tell me a little bit about what's going to happen there tonight.
Well, tonight, actually what's happened, because it's the Free Fringe Festival, which is bringing together artists of all disciplines and from different areas. And so my idea was to bring together, because predominantly I work in improvisation and I work with a number of different groups around town and know a number of different improvisers. So I thought it would be fun to invite people from a bunch of different places, like Boom Chicago and Easy Laughs and Sahand of Mesrab. And Greg Shapiro, the American Nederlander, and a bunch of...
We've had a few of them at the show here.
I wouldn't be surprised. But I thought it would be good to get them all together and sort of kick off the Free Fringe and also kick off the cultural season at large by doing a couple of different improv shows. So there will be two halves tonight. One of them will be kind of more a short form, short scenes and games, and then a second half that will be inspired in true Mesrab spirit by stories and monologues.
Mm-hmm. And also in Mesrab spirit music, or is it...
There is, I think, a musician coming. He's quasi-confirmed with me, so I'm hoping that there will be some music tonight. We'll, in true improvisational spirit, though, we won't know until we get there.
Excellent. And what time does that start?
The show kicks off at 8 o'clock. Doors are at 7, and... Yeah, and we should, the first intermission will be, the intermission will probably be at around 9, quarter after, and then we'll have a second half. Should be done by quarter after 10, 10:30.
All right. So that's the first official show of the Free Fringe Festival this year. And we're going to talk about the different venues and the different genres that are taking place. Like I said, we've got all of you at the table for this hour. First, we're going to have a little bit of music. I'm going to switch to Dutch for just a second. Een paar agendapunten van de dag gelijk. Vorige week hebben we het met Anne-Roos Roze de Cavallo gehad over haar show met Zwerm Daedalus Cobain, deel van het Fringe Festival, in de Melkweg Theaterzaal. En dat is om 10:30 en de entree is €11. Dat gaat ook de komende 3 dagen door. Iedere avond een show in de Melkweg Theaterzaal van Daedalus Cobain. En dan ook vanavond bij de Brakkegrond Sonic Soirée om 20:30. Dat is alternatieve pop en rock uit Vlaanderen en Nederland. En daar spelen Paun, Nouveau Velo en Camera. En daarom gaan we nu luisteren naar een nummer van Nouveau Velo. En dat nummer heet Asleep. Dames en heren, dat was Nouveau Velo met het nummer Days. En zij spelen dus samen met Paun en Camera bij de Brakke Grond vanavond tijdens Sonic Soirée. Entree is €12. Je luistert naar Songwriters Guild Live en we hebben het vandaag over het Free Fringe Festival dat vandaag van start gaat. Ik heb nog steeds aan de tafel, Ryan is inmiddels vertrokken, maar ik zit hier nu met 4 mensen die we allemaal nog gaan spreken. Next up is Roberto, because, hi, welcome to the show. As we mentioned before, by the way, so that people know, we are also colleagues because you also have a radio show.
We have a radio show, Italian radio, but we are colleagues in absolutely. I'm present and do the reduction of it. Yes.
Yeah. And today you're here, of course, because of Free Fringe Festival. One of the things is you have a venue, which we just mentioned.
Yes, I have it in the sense we are a group of artists. We run a small place, what we said before, next to the Dam, next to the Wallen. And this place has several functions, and one of the functions is theater and music and open podium. And that's what we do because we like it, because we think it's a good thing to do, it's the right thing to do.
And is any of the Free Fringe Festival this year also taking place there?
There is a lot actually taking place there. When some ask me to play in Endgame, and also if Astro Teatro, this is the name of the venue, if Astro Teatro could be one of the venues inside the program of the Free Fringe, I said, okay, why not? It's on a way, it's an honor to be part of it. So we will have tomorrow and Saturday evening we have Happy Nuts, which is a theater, basically theater event. And then Saturday we will show a movie, documentary movie, which is called Stay Human. And then next...
I've heard of that.
Did you hear it?
It might have been in relation to the Free Fringe Festival.
It is fringe in a way, like mainly documentaries are. It's about, it's made by an activist, a pacifist, who has worked in Israel and in the occupied territories.
I may have heard about it at Pirate Cinema. They had
it could be something for the Pirate
small
Cinema.
film festival thing, yes.
And it is the stories, the diary of this pacifist who has been in the occupied territories during 2008, 2009, and he died there. And a movie has been made with his diaries. And then we have next week, Wednesday, we have El Lamento. It's a Spanish language with English and Dutch, but mainly Spanish language show inspired by the technique of the Spanish speaking lamento. So something very international in a way.
It is. And I also wanted to talk with you about Endgame, the Samuel Beckett play, because you're playing in that.
I'm doing Clove, yes.
Okay. And it's going to take place tomorrow at the Free... No?
No.
Not tomorrow.
No, the opening night is Friday the 13th.
It's next week. Tomorrow will be
next week Friday.
Happy Nuts.
Oh, all right. And but Endgame is taking place at the Vondelbunker.
That's on the Vondelbunker. It is next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 13, 14, and 15. And it's what some said, basically it's one of the stars, I don't know, but it's surely a very important play to play. And
we were very lucky to find actors that could do it actually, because it's not easy. It's on a big scale, and fortunately we have the kind of we're lucky. We have the luxury of poverty in a way, because we're rich in time. The way, if you could, it would be very difficult to have a rehearsal period of 6 months with a play in commercial theatre. We've been able to eat and sleep this play for the last 6 months, and you never use up this play, because this is the most amazing play. It's one of the greatest plays of the last century, in my opinion, and not just in my opinion, in many people's opinion. So
it's interesting. Most people in theater talk about the luxury of successful commercial plays to give you the
well, the
opportunity.
turnover is about 5 weeks for a commercial play in commercial theatre. Yeah, unless it's very luxurious.
4 weeks. I even done commercial productions which were prepared in 4 weeks of rehearsal.
This is a bit of a problem because this is the cart leading the horse rather than the other way round. For us, the work is the most important thing, and that might sound a bit worthy, but it's true.
We're gonna talk more about it because it's an interesting subject. So Endgame is taking place the 13th, 14th, and 15th. And I have a flyer of it right here.
It's funny as well. It's a funny play. It's funny, but it's dark humor.
It's dark humor, absolutely. And it is so deeply human. There is an enormous intensity and enormous humanity in there. And it's a great
I think
play.
they did it at the
and you
Stad
cannot
Schouwburg
really,
recently, but in Dutch.
You cannot really come to an end of this game. The game keeps on going, and there is no end game in an end game. So that's why it's also good that you have the time as an artist, as an actor, to really build this play in a time which is not a commercial time, and in the best situation, I think, also for the audience which will come and see it, it's still something that will remain afterwards in your subconscious, in your mind, and in your consciousness as well.
And we have a wonderful ham. We have Carlos Traffic as ham.
Okay. It's going to take place, I already mentioned the dates, and on the first 2 days it's going to be at 8:30, and then on the Sunday it's going to be in the afternoon at 3.
It's a matinee
That's on the final day of the Free Fringe Festival.
Yep.
So that's Endgame, and that's you, Roberto.
Yes.
And so Astro Teatro is just off Warmoestraat?
It's a side street of the Warmoestraat. If you come from the Krasnopolski, it's the Sint-Janstraat 37. It's a very narrow... it's a narrow street, almost a steeg, almost an alley.
Okay.
And there we are. But once you pass in front of it, you will notice it because it's kind of strange, weird. Not weird, I don't know, but strange.
Okay.
You can also see
window.
on the website, on the Free Fringe Festival Amsterdam website.
We're going to get to the website as well. We're going to get to the website as well. So thank you very much, Roberto.
You're welcome.
And I'm just going to switch to Dutch for another minute because it's time for some music. Ik heb het gehad over vandaag Daedalus Cobain en de Brakke Grond Sonic Soirée. Dan gaan we naar een paar agendapunten van morgen. We gaan zo meteen luisteren naar een nummer van De Hoek getiteld Alle Dagen Zon. Maar de agendapunten voor de dag morgen zijn MC-theater. In de foyer is Meikesmiddag. Meikesmiddag is een dag met gratis entree waar soul- en jazzmuziek live plaatsvindt, maar ook direct op de radio wordt uitgezonden. Dat begint om 4 uur. Speelt hun huisband samen met The Obsessions, The Plugtones, Esperanza, Mrs. Smith en The Boys from Brazil, ook geen onbekende van Amsterdam FM, en Deuk. En dan is ook morgenmiddag van 3:45 tot 7:05, om even heel specifiek te zijn, een showcase van het Amsterdam Songwriters Guild op het Magneet Festival. En daar spelen onder andere The Good View, The Shady Grays, Danelize, Carleen Janne. Ik ga er zelf muziek maken. Dear John, Taste of Cinnamon, Luke Nyman, die ooit technicus was bij dit programma en binnenkort een nieuw album uitbrengt. Dan gaan we hem te gast hebben. En dus De Hoek. En van De Hoek gaan we nu luisteren naar hun zomersingle, die ze dit jaar, geloof ik, voor het 3e jaar hebben uitgebracht. Ze brengen hem ieder jaar opnieuw uit tot hij in de charts komt. En het heet Alle Dagen Zon. Ja, dames en heren, dat was De Hoek met Alle Dagen Zon. En dat is dus een van de acts die je morgen kan bewonderen op het Magneet Festival. En zij spelen om 4:10. Nederlandstalig duo. Je luistert naar Songwriters Guild Live en nog steeds is hier de lancering, het beginpunt van Free Fringe Festival 2013. En we gaan nu praten. We zijn tussen de gesprekken door tijdens de nummers ook allemaal interessante onderwerpen aan het aansnijden. Misschien komen die zo meteen nog aan bod. But first I'm gonna switch to English and we're gonna talk to Faye and Molly.
Hi.
Welcome. So let's start with you separately so we know, so we're reminded of what you're doing. But it's connected, so after that we're gonna combine it a little. Faye, quick reminder of what you're doing at Free Fringe Festival this year.
Well, I'm doing Faye's Film Festival, where we're showing lots of interesting films from all around the world, mostly animations, but also live action stuff. And we've got some films that have never been seen before from Japan and France and Holland. And yeah, it's very exciting. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So that's one-woman pirate cinema in a way.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
so. Yeah, yeah.
And Molly.
I'm organizing Warp Zone, which is an art show that's tributing video games and gaming culture. We have a collection of different artists who've created artwork in different media, and we're coming together and putting on a show. And there's also going to be a thing called the Freak Show Arcade, which is a collection of very strange retro video games, so people can play and experience these bizarre pieces of work.
So why video game art?
Well, I'm in my 4th year of game art at the HKU at the moment, and I love video games and I love art.
Me too. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's not. And I also love traditional art forms. I like all art forms. Like Free Fringe Festival brings all these things together, and I love all of them. But for game artists specifically who make art that's a reference to games or celebrating games rather than production art, there's not really a place for us in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
And I'm inspired by one of my favorite game artists, which is Scott Campbell. And in a presentation, he said once that when we were done with college, there was no scene for us, so we made our own. And I was inspired by that to basically try to form our own scene to show our work.
Yeah, I sort of know that feeling. So how are you, Faye and Molly, connected at this festival?
Well, the two events happening at the same time, but also I really think that animation and film and video games are a lot more connected than people think. In fact, I think perhaps that's the future, you know? Because like I used to think that, animation is the ultimate medium because it's a combination of all these different art forms. You know, you have the writing, you have the drawing, you have the story. And then games is also that with the added thing of interaction.
Sure.
Yeah. So I really think that animation and games really go hand in hand.
There's a crossover in interests as well, because the kind of geek culture, people are into animation and games, among other things. So it's two themes that go well together.
Yeah.
That's true. So is it also, what's the venue where these things are taking place?
Well, the two venues are in the Vondelbunker.
Okay.
And the Animation Festival and the opening reception for Warp Zone are on the 7th of September, which is this Saturday.
Yeah. Okay, so that's in 2 days from now?
Yes.
And what time is that going to be?
Well, you say the festival first.
Well, Faye's Film Festival starts at 4.
All right.
Yeah.
And Warp Zone's opening reception is from 3.
All right. And there's going to be a lot of different animated movies.
Yes, we've got some very exciting things. We're actually we're kicking the festival off with this film called Zen Zen Wakaranai, No Idea, which is a film I actually created while I was living in Japan last year. And there's a lot of great artists who contributed to the film. Lots of artists from Japan and also international artists as well. So artists contributed characters to this film.
Yeah.
And a lot of these characters also have their own films, which are also being shown at the festival.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so it's a really nice, it's a nice, build up, and you get to know all these different characters.
It's like an animated, non-blockbuster Avengers.
Yeah, sort of, yeah. You sort of, people have their favorite character, and yeah.
It's
and
also
then,
about its own creation as well, the theme of the film, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. It's about myself, Faye, and this Japanese animator called Eri creating a film together. That's what Zen Zen Wakaranai is.
The film within
about.
the film.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's a very playful film. It's very, it's playful and heartwarming and funny as well.
Right.
And partly in Japanese, partly in English. And we're also showing, we'll be premiering our new internet series, actually 2 new internet series. One's called Squid Boy, which is a very absurd...
Squid Boy?
Yeah, Squid Boy. Squid Boy. It's a very strange character, very absurd animation. And we're also going to be premiering Kimono and Chibi-chan, the first episode, which is called Kimono and Chibi-chan in Tarantula. Which is also very...
Tarantula, also a Sin Collective song.
Yes, that's
it's a doppelganger
Sorry,
song.
just memory going up there.
The Doppelgangers do
Oh,
the music
Doppelganger,
for
yeah, we
the
had.
film. Yes.
Yes.
Ah.
Yes, that's the interesting thing. We're going to be showing the cartoon, and then later that in the evening at the Hellfire Club, the real live action Kimona and Chibi-chan are going to be performing with the Doppelgangers.
Live on stage.
So, it's like the line is being blurred between cartoon and real, and it's hard to know which came first, the
Excellent.
cartoon or the real.
Yeah, and we're also going to talk in a few minutes with Sam about the Hellfire Club, so then we're going to get back to that. Will there also be any opportunity, and maybe I'm asking this out of self-interest, to play video games at the event?
Absolutely, yes. It's I can't stand game events that don't have games.
Yeah.
I hate that, so there has to be games. And to put a twist on it, that's what Freak Show Arcade is. It's like a sideshow freak show, but instead of having like humans, it's games. So we have a bunch of strange games. Among other things, we have Weird Dreams, Bad Day on the Midway, Simcopter, some very strange games with very strange little Easter eggs or strange subject matter, and there'll also be little information boards explaining why they're included, and they're completely playable.
All right, excellent. So that's the Phase Film Festival and Warp Zone, the video game art and gaming as well.
Yes.
Yes, and there's a prize for best cosplay as well. So if you come in cosplay, so if you come dressed up as a comic book character, a game character, or a cartoon character, maybe you'll win a prize.
Yes.
Okay, so this festival is basically doing everything. Yeah.
A little bit of everything, something for everyone.
All right.
And we're mixing those audiences together as well. They might come for one thing and stay for something else.
That'll be interesting. And we're going to talk more. Next, we're going to get to you, Sam. First, there's once again some music. That's also a recurring theme here at Songwriters Guild Live.
I guess we are talking.
Dat was Chagera van Daan Hofman. En dat is een van de artiesten die aanstaande zaterdag zal staan bij het buitenpodium van de Rode Bioscoop voor hun 100-jarig feest. Je luistert naar Songwriters Guild Live dit komende kwartier nog. En we hebben het vandaag over de Free Fringe Festival. Voordat we gaan naar Sam, Hedy, I also have to ask Faye and Molly, was there anything else for you to mention?
Oh, well, I wanted to mention that, in the second half of Phase Film Festival, we're also showing some very naughty films, some naughty cartoons with sex and drugs and bad words and the birth of a banana.
The birth of a banana.
Yes.
Okay, well, that's good to know. It's actually, since we're on in the afternoon, it's good that we're not on TV and we can't show a clip of that probably. Okay. So that's
also during Warp Zone, there's going to be on the Sunday. There's also going to be Warp Zone Cutscene, which is a film festival showing documentaries about video games from 1 till 7, and 1 till 5. And on the opening reception, be sure to be there at 5:30 because we will have a chiptuner playing Wisefire.
All right. And now I'm going to move on to Sam. We started with you with a general introduction, and now we're going to talk a few specifics.
Okay.
Because earlier
What do you want to know, Rufus?
Well, earlier I thought the song Tarantula was a Sin Collective song, but that was the Doppelgangers, who we've also had here in the studio. There's a few overlapping members.
That's right, yes. But the Doppelgangers is electro band, and Sin Collective play acoustic.
Mm-hmm.
And both those bands will be featured in the program. Saturday the 7th at night is the first Hellfire Club, part 1, at the Vondelbunker. And that's going to be bands and acts and nighttime kind of vibe. We also have classical dancers. We have improv with Ryan Miller, who was here earlier. Yeah. It's a very full program. It's going to be loads of fun. And then we have DJ VJ at the end and a bit of a party. And then on the second Saturday of the festival in the afternoon, starting at 3 o'clock, we have acoustic music and a bit more gentle sort of things happening. But also theatre and acts, and we have percussion, poetry, and all sorts of other things. And hopefully a lot of people will drop by because they'll be in the Vondel Park with the nice weather going on and so on. And so they'll notice us under the bridge at the Vondelbunker. If you don't know where it is, it's under the Vondelbrug, where the tram 3 goes overhead.
Which you hear when you're in the Vondelbunker.
You do, every now and then.
You really do.
You
Yeah.
really, really do. Yeah.
And Sin Collective is also playing at Hellfire Club.
Yes, the second one. Yeah.
The second one in the afternoon because it's an acoustic band.
That's it.
And in a few minutes, we're also gonna sort of end the show with a Sin Collective song, a bit of a mellow song that you
Nice.
picked out.
Thank you.
But while we were listening to Asleep and Alle Dagen Zon, we were also talking about the fact that I actually think it's quite interesting to see a festival like this in theater, because in the music scene, singer-songwriter scene, I know some people who organize, I do it a bit myself as well, independent festivals that are not subsidized and things like
Yes,
that.
yes.
And a lot of the musicians are also used to not being subsidized, etc. But I
Yeah.
actually, quite a few people I know in theater can't really imagine having a quality event, let alone festival,
Yeah.
without the money input.
Well, it might sound a bit harsh, but there's a lot of boo-hooing going on about the subsidy cutbacks and so
Mm-hmm.
on. Maybe it's a good thing in some ways that some of the fat is cut back. And
In what ways?
because after all, it's about being entertaining and engaging. And if the work's not relevant, then and people don't find it entertaining or stimulating, then it's a bit pointless. Do you know what I mean? Like. That's not to say that some very erudite work isn't important as well, and just because doesn't have popular appeal, that it shouldn't exist.
So you don't think
But
that
it's
subsidy should be cut?
Not necessarily.
Right.
I don't think it's a bad thing necessarily, but I
No.
think that as it's gone for a lot of us in this line of work, we have to find ways. There's a lot of parallels with the music industry, because now the big record companies are not signing people anymore. But in a way, it's good that the distribution tools are in the hands of the musicians.
I definitely agree with that. But of course, some consequences. Sometimes the consequence of cutting subsidy is that some people have to start looking for sponsors, and then you're
Yes.
also dependent on.
Yes. And then the
an
commercial sponsors are
organization.
influencing what work you're
So it
doing.
can also have
Yeah.
drawbacks to cut the subsidy. But at the same time, here there's a festival that does have quality shows from all
Yeah.
the reactions I've heard from last year as well.
Yeah.
And this is something that people working in theater, some of them don't seem to. So you think
Yeah.
that a problem of the subsidy is that people don't see how they can work without it?
Well, the problem with this, yes, and also the problem with the subsidy is that the plenty of subsidised work doesn't get an audience. They're in a theatre space with two people in the audience, and it's a bit pointless.
But there is something I would like
Yes.
to add to what Sam is saying, because
ahead.
it's a very complicated and
It is.
complex
It is.
Complicated. It's
issue.
all in flux.
Also, because sometimes I think that the comparison with the music world can be good up to a certain extent. Theater is not music, and it's very different
Yes.
art and discipline. So it has other patterns. On the long run, you need. The fact that there is free quality theater going on, like in the free fringe, doesn't mean that this should be the standard, at least if you ask it to me.
That's an
on the
important point,
on the
yes.
long run, you need to have money, because otherwise you will also create a huge group of theater makers, which will be dishwashers, in order to pay their bills. So there is something very, very complicated. On the other hand, the cut on subsidies creates now this big move of artists taking their destiny and their fortune in their hands, which is good, I agree. You have to take care that this also goes somewhere, and that you don't go toward a society where there is one way of thinking in the Orwell catastrophe idea. Like, we have one theater which is the subsidized theater, which is the communal theater, and that's it. And all the rest, or is bullshit, or is not worth it. So this is something we have to keep on discussing and debating about, and it's for me
I
a
agree
very
with
important
you, Roberto,
issue.
But I think also often good work comes out of innovation and having to be inventive and innovative.
Absolutely.
And
This is what we
find
see.
ways.
Yeah.
And that's important. And innovation is always on the street. It always starts on the street. It starts on the street and then it goes to the catwalk.
Art and culture comes from need and
Yes.
from pain, and not
Yes.
from happiness in a way. That I agree.
Well,
But
that's the theme of your show, isn't
which
it?
is the theme of one of the things
Happy
of
Nuts.
Happy Nuts tomorrow
Yeah.
evening. Does
Doesn't
happiness
come-
help us or not?
It doesn't come from comfort.
It's a delicate, complicated issue, and we are
Definitely.
only surely in the theater world only at the beginning of a new era, which is very exciting,
is.
but unknown.
So,
Well, maybe
so we have a
here in the
here we have a
Netherlands.
forum for this kind of discussion.
Definitely. Maybe
And,
I'd like to have you back on the show to talk more about it sometime. We're getting pretty close to the end, but maybe we'll end up with something like what we talked about earlier. I mean, the Fringe Festival once started as a Fringe Festival,
Yes.
but it did grow out to a bigger thing.
Yeah.
And when that happened, there apparently was a need to create a new Fringe Festival that was actually on the fringes.
we talked
which-
about that at length last
yes,
year.
we did.
yeah.
We did. But it's what you seem to be getting back to when you understand the need for, festival. Once there's innovation, people also want to go somewhere with
Well,
it.
small can be beautiful as well, and small means you can pay attention to detail. You can take care of the artists and present their work in the best way possible. And the artists are not left feeling like something that's just put in a slot by a corporate hand.
Well, I suppose different artists have different places where they take their work.
It's true.
Yeah.
Full agree. I mean, money destroys mainly a lot of things, and small scale, it doesn't mean small quality. Absolutely not. There is my issue is also towards the professionality of an artist. Again,
Yes.
how I can go for free, and I can go for close to nothing, but I live in a society where I have to pay bills, and how this affect my life as an artist, because when I'm an artist, I'm also a human being at the same time.
Of
the
course.
two things are not separated. So that's the issue we are facing now, I think.
Well, I'm not. It's a nuanced discussion and it's a complicated discussion. So I'm not going to end it with a punchline. But I am going to end it. But I am.
It's
no,
not
I'm,
a punchline.
Yeah.
It is
No. I'm not gonna end your nuanced point with a punchline. I mean, so I'm not gonna oversimplify it. But I do have to end it for today. So I hope we can talk more about it
Absolutely, I'd
another
love to.
time. The Free Fringe Festival starts today, as we already mentioned, at I believe at 8. The show
Mesrap.
tonight starts at Mesrap. That's next to the Pakkas Wilhelmina, and basically in the basement where also Delicatessen is these days, for the people who know that. So it's on Piet Heinkade, and you can go to freefringefestivalamsterdam.com. So that's freefringefestivalamsterdam.com. You can also Google Free Fringe Amsterdam and find it as well.
There's also a blog with all sorts of information about the process of setting up the show and what's
Yeah.
going on at the moment, currently live as we speak. And and on the
Okay.
website you have full details of the program, the events,
I
the
saw
venues,
it. I saw it. So you can find everything that's going on there. And I would like to thank very much my guests for today: Sam, Faye, Molly, Roberto, also Ryan, who's going to
Thank you,
do the show
Rufus.
tonight.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
En
Thank you very
daarmee
much.
komen we aan het einde van deze uitzending van Songwriters Guild Live. We gaan eruit met een nummer van Sin Sin Collective. Mick vandaag voor de eerste keer achter de techniek. Ik ben jullie host Rufus Kain. Volgende week zijn we hier met een nieuwe Songwriters Guild Live van 4 tot 5. En dit is nog even tot het einde van de show. De Ganga Song van Sin Sin Collective.
The Ganga flows through Varanasi, city of the dead. Lord Shiva is creator and destroyer, and it comes off the top of his head. The force that through the green fuse drives the flower makes me what I am. The Ganga flows through Varanasi, singing Hari Ram, singing Hari Ram. Play a while, boys. Lord Shiva is creator and destroyer, and it comes off the top of his head. The force that through the green fuse drives the flower